A year now since the insurrection at the Capitol, and for a lot of folks who were there to experience that, the fear they felt on January 6th still follows them to this day.
That's right. ABC News correspondent Rachel Scott sat down with members of Congress and Hill staffers who were there that day to discuss trauma, grief, and how they've learned to cope.
Can you believe that it's already been a year?
It's really hard to believe it because it still feels like it was just yesterday.
For most people, the chaos and violence unfolded for just a few hours on January 6th. But for many who were there, the trauma never ended. Gunfire, shattered glass, a noose at the foot of the Capitol, Trump supporters storming the building. These were some of the first images that emerged from inside the House chamber, the mob pounding on the door. A group of lawmakers trapped above in the gallery, told to reach for the gas masks stored under their seats.
Initially, for me, it was just, how do you get out of here? Yeah. I wasn't even thinking fear. I mean, we didn't even know how to open the gas masks. When you're back inside the chamber, when you're in the gallery, what do you think about now?
I think about it all the time. I haven't gone back to the gallery, actually.
You haven't?
I haven't. That night, they told us to go back to the same place that we had been. I was like, I'm not going back.
What is it for you? Why not go back?
It was traumatic. It's returning to a place of trauma.
Those Democrats, together in the gallery that day by chance, were bonded together by the trauma. They stayed in touch, group text messages turning into therapy sessions, some diagnosed with PTSD.
That's been a blessing far beyond January 6th, and I know has endured, has made us more resolute, impassioned, and strong.
It wasn't just lawmakers there that day. There were hundreds of Capitol workers, staff, custodians, legislative aides, and police officers. A year later, still shaken by the attack, struggling to cope with the trauma. Nathaniel Holmes and Leah Hahn work for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and were inside her office just steps from the House chamber.
What was the moment when you realized that you were in danger?
You started hearing people in the building. It was no longer just these chanting and shouts from outside. You could hear people in the hallways. It just seems if someone's capable of breaking in the Capitol building, what else are they capable of?
The staff grabbed what they could and raced to a conference room, barricading themselves inside, no security around.
It's scary to think, what if I was a little bit slower, if I was, upstairs?
Do you think about that? Do you think about the scenarios?
Definitely. Were they gonna kill us? Were they gonna torture us? I'm a woman, were they gonna rape me? Everything, all the possibilities. I mean, I couldn't help but try to prepare myself.
As rioters searched for the Speaker of the House,
Nancy! Where are you, Nancy?
They ransacked her office. Her staff hid under a table inside that conference room. You can hear Nathaniel whispering in horror. This is his first time speaking out.
I think they're within our hallway. We need Capitol Police, I think, coming to the hallway. They're pounding on doors trying to find her.
I thought we were gonna die. I mean, I just remember, I kept thinking, this can't be happening to me. How is this happening?
1 year removed, while the initial shock has worn off, an unanticipated grief remains that time can't even seem to shake.
1 year later, will this building ever be the same? And will you yourself ever be the same?
I don't think we can be the same when things happen. I think we are a collection, and the building is a collection of all the things that happen to us.
I don't know if it'll be the same, but hopefully it can be better.
Our thanks to Rachel Scott for that. And here to discuss the effects of trauma and how the insurrection has impacted a lot of us, psychotherapist and PTSD expert Dr. Lisa Palmer. Dr. Palmer, I know you just watched that piece that Rachel Scott brought to us, and you heard the trauma. You could feel it, really. They're still hopeful, but they're still trying to get past that day. What is PTSD, and what are its effects on people?
Well, one way I like to describe it is that, you can throw away the book, but not the memory of the book. So unfortunately, when somebody experiences trauma, it can last a lifetime for them. And they have a bunch of different side effects: anxiety, depression, flashback memories, body memories. And oftentimes, especially in this scenario, feelings of being trapped, feelings of being unsafe. And so they can feel triggered often in their everyday life.
And Lisa, we just heard those stories from the people who were actually there and so traumatized by that. But so many other people watched it, were not there, and still are experiencing those same features of PTSD. So explain how that can happen to someone who wasn't even present at the actual traumatic event itself.
Right. So like a secondary exposure, they're seeing this. Our brains can't really tell the difference between what is real and what is unreal. So when you're watching television and you're experiencing those emotions, that can be triggering something in you. And a lot of viewers also have their own trauma. Let's not forget that 7.5 million people suffer from PTSD. So when they're seeing something on television that's triggering an emotion in them, they may be thinking about their own traumas subconsciously, bringing up feelings of anxiety and fears, and that can affect their sleep and affect their life.
Dr. Palmer, but PTSD, is this something that needs to be recognized and officially diagnosed, if you will, by a professional? And can you deal with it on your own in some way and cope? Or is that something also you need some real and professional help with?
All really good questions. In fact, a lot of people suffer from PTSD on different levels. In this particular case with the Capitol attack, we can see that is something very extreme, but people suffer from PTSD all the time, and it's affecting them in a bunch of different ways. And it's unfortunately not something that you can will yourself to change, because your brain actually processes this trauma memory different than regular memory when you're in this mode of survival. And unfortunately, people get sort of locked into the emotions of the trauma that's happening at that time. So they can be growing older and living different life experiences, but still their brain is pairing their current experiences with experiences of the past. So it makes it very difficult to change, but it's something that if you get the right therapeutic help for, you can actually change that and transform your life.
What does that look like, therapeutic help?
So there's different forms of therapy. I mean, my particular way of going about this is I work on changing core belief systems, because when trauma happens, your brain, like I said, processes that memory differently. So emotion is stored in one part of the brain, oftentimes that negative emotion, which we have to clear, and negative core belief is also formed. So in this case, feelings of being unsafe, insecure, inability to trust. So there's different methods that we have to change core belief systems, as well as changing the coding of the way that your brain is processing the emotions, which we can actually clear and change some of the emotions in a memory, then store that memory differently from short-term memory, where it's stored when the trauma happens, to long-term memory once the memory is rewritten. It's coding.
All right. Well, it's remarkable that a lot of people are going through things as a result of what happened a year ago who weren't there, and we don't even realize maybe. So this is an important conversation, important to get this out. Dr. Lisa Palmer, thank you so much for your time and your help in bringing this to light.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.